Well, the GH6 is officially launched. Let me know what you think about the GH6, the specs, everything about the GH6. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Now, I obviously don't have the GH6 on hand, but I wanted to put together just kind of a little reaction video to the actual GH6 launch live stream that Lumix had on their YouTube channel. And overall, there really wasn't a whole lot new that we didn't know because of the leaks that came out beforehand. But there were a few things that are still pretty intriguing. No big surprises or anything, but there's a few things that are still pretty intriguing when it actually came to the GH6 launch. If you're new here, my name is Caleb and I do freelance video with the Panasonic GH5, hopefully soon with the GH6. And if you want to learn more about the GH5 and the GH6, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So first of all, there were a few different ranges as far as the price was going to go. I saw everything from, $2,300 to $2,800, $2,900 US. But the actual price right now is $2197.99. And with that, if you pre-order it right now until March 25th, you actually get a CFast card with that, which seems like a pretty good deal. And if you've been a GH5 shooter, you haven't really used CFast cards. So like me, I don't really have any here. So getting a CFast card with the purchase of the GH6 is actually a pretty good deal. Now, a couple things that weren't leaked before the actual launch video that we really didn't know anything about, but we're kind of hoping that would be a part of the GH6 were some of these future firmware updates that's how they labeled it on the live stream, future firmware updates. And there's a couple that really stand out to me. The first being the Ssd recording. Now that's huge because you're going to be able to shoot these really high bit rate settings on those SSD drives. So instead of relying on like a 64 or 128 gig CFast card, you'll be able to record onto like a terabyte SSD drive. One of the things that we already knew was the Apple ProRes internal recording. Well, you're going to have to do that to a CFast card unless you're using the SSD. And also an SSD drive is a lot cheaper than like picking up an Atomos Ninja 5. So you'll be able to record some of those ProRes high bitrate options right to that SSD drive where you're not even going to have to worry about any memory card issues. Now, one of the things that people love about the GH5 is the dual SD drive where you can basically record on one card and it gives a backup on the other card. And that's really important for shooting interviews in case one of the cards messed up, you have a backup. But I did not see anything on the launch about that backup happening between the CFast and the SD card. Another future firmware update that I'm excited about is the Cinema 4K 120 RAW to the Atomos Ninja 5. So that's not right out of the box. That's going to be coming in a future firmware update. Now, after the initial launch video, they went into like a Q&A with, some of the developers for Lumix, and the very first thing, and this was just like spammed in the chat on the launch video on the live stream, was the autofocus. And this is by far the biggest talking point with the GH6. And you know what? Lumix is sticking to their guns and they're sticking with that DFD contrast-based autofocus. And that is not settling well with so many people. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people are probably going to leave the Lumix line of cameras for better autofocus on, let's say, Sony or Canon. And it's just an unfortunate thing because I think Lumix is kind of missing out on that content creator group of people that really rely on that autofocus for selfie style video like this. So anybody that's doing any type of vlog type of videos or just rely on it for talking heads like this, that's going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people. If you're used to manual focus in other settings like interview settings, if you're behind the camera, not in front of it, then that autofocus isn't that big of a deal. I think the DFD autofocus is going to handle just fine for tracking, like if you're on a gimbal or anything like that. I think it's going to handle fine for that. But even with some of the release videos that have come out already, with some of them testing the autofocus, you can already see some of that pulsing in the background. That's just not a good thing, and Lumix is going to lose a lot of people because of that. We already knew this because of the leaks, but it does have the full vlog installed on camera right out of the box, which is nice. We don't have to order it and have it sent to us. It's the full vlog. It's not the vlog L like on the GH5, and it has 12 stops of dynamic range. Now, it does have the dynamic range boost mode, which is supposed to take it up to 13 stops, so it'll be interesting to see how that comes into play and how that works on the GH6. This next feature is going to be a great feature for a lot of event videographers, and that's the unlimited recording. Now, from what I saw on that launch video, the battery life does not look fantastic, so you might need to go dummy battery, or if you can record with the USB-C, but it does have unlimited recording. And one of the ways that it's able to do that is because it now has a fan on the back. So you'll be able to shoot these high bit rates with unlimited recording because of that fan. And what's cool about this as well is that this whole system, even with the fan, is weatherproof. So that's one of the things that drew me to the GH5 is just the weatherproof. I live in a crazy climate area, so having that weatherproof body and weatherproof lenses and having a full weatherproof system is very important to me. So even with the fan, the GH6 is weatherproof. And some of these things that were already leaked, like these super high bit rates, like 600 megabits per second, 800 megabits per second, things that will make your computer just melt. This camera has those features if you need them. And so that's where the CFast comes in. That's where the SSD in the future is going to come in. But having the super high bit rates for recording, for video recording, is a great option on the GH6. And I think a lot of people are going to be able to take advantage of that as long as you have the capabilities to edit that. And I think having ProRes, that'll help a lot. So those are some of the highlights that I took from the launch event for the Panasonic GH5. And again, let me know down in the comments if you watched the launch event or if you've seen some of these reviews that others have been putting out. Let me know your thoughts on the GH6, what you've been seeing, and let me know if it's something that you're interested in pre-ordering. I'd love to get a conversation started down in the comments. Well, that's all I have for this video. If you have time, maybe stick around, watch one of these videos that's popping up on your screen right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.